session. So this is making it that we're having 3 sessions this month, but this is a very special, unique session, part of a series that our special guest will talk about, who is also the co-organizer of this particular meetup group. So Alexander Tolov, and as usual, in this segment, so I'm gonna have to be quicker now so that I stick to the 5 minutes past 8 to be ready for the next segment where the speaker walks us through what is planned for us. And in this case, please put your Q&A in the question in the chat box, and I will pass them to Alex as we go on. I'm going to paste this in the chat. So these are all the larger community, the platforms that we exist that you can be part of. So Alexander Tolov is a professional consultant. He's actually one of the co-organizer of this particular user group, and he's someone who has been very active in the entire data ecosystem, and he likes to share his knowledge. He's consulted and worked for different top organizations, and he's seen different variants of what most of us kind of just read about, or even in the examination that this certification is about, is seeing the practical aspect of it, the consulting side of it, and it's someone who has also done a lot of these exams. He's done the DP-600, DP-700. So I think you couldn't have a better qualified person to walk us through this. So I'm going to hand over to him and get out of his way. So Alex, over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen and then you can take it away.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you everyone who joined us tonight. This is indeed a special session, and the special, it's not because I'm presenting, even though Michael so kindly talked about me in so many good and kind words, but because it's part of the global initiative that is called Data Days. Data Days is run by Microsoft. It's organized by Microsoft, but it's run by the community. So we are, as a community, we specifically wanted to make sure that our community members can benefit from this event and can have exactly the same content as everybody else. That's why we decided to kind of squeeze our schedule and make this session happen. So that's what that is. Now, one important in begin for the beginning, one important note here is that there are many parts of being a good professional, and certification is just one of them. So by all means, we're not saying that being certified is absolutely necessary for being a good data engineer, but it also helps. It helps in so many different ways that we just picked due to the time constraint, because it's not easy to organize a long multi-session event for us, just because we have a big lineup of other topics that we want to discuss with you all. So we picked an exam that is DP-700, which stands for Data Platform 700 series. This is the data engineering exam in the stack of Microsoft Data Platform exams. It stems from the exam that used to have a number 203, which was DP-203. This exam was pre-Fabric, and it was focused mostly on other managed data platform tools, in particular Synapse and Azure Data Factory. But then it was retired when Microsoft Fabric became the number one data platform offering in their portfolio. They decided to retire the DP-203 and focus on the updated version, which is this. And without further ado, let me just start with the session. so we can deep dive. What we're going to do today is we want to go through a few topics. Number one, what are different certifications that we currently exist in the Microsoft Data Platform ecosystem, and what Microsoft Fabric from the certification standpoint, not as a product on itself. And then we want to do a quick overview of what is important to know about Microsoft Fabric that allows you to pass this exam and get your certification. So this is our agenda in short. And this session is absolutely interactive. What it means that you have multiple options to interact with me, with Michael, with each other, because everybody else will be listening as well. You can post your questions into the chat, and I will see them, and Michael will see them, and we will try to squeeze them into our narrative here tonight. And also, you can speak out loud if you raise your hand. Michael can manage and can let you ask your question live with the voice. Now, I want to tell you that I have about 30 slides. You probably can see this on the screen. It doesn't mean that we have to go through all of them. And also, it doesn't mean that I will be very pedantic and going, into very details of each slide. We can absolutely stop, or my plan is actually to go very quickly through the slides, and then have more time for live Q&A, and maybe we want to focus on a particular area in the slides, and then we'll scroll back, and we will discuss what's of interest, because this is a session for everyone. It's not a formal presentation of any particular topic or material. It's just our, unfortunately, not so regular community call. And again, thank you everyone for being here tonight, because this is what makes us a community, that we want to spend our time together discussing these interesting topics. All right, so this is the overview of the Microsoft certification stack. And you see that DP-203 is currently retired. So what we have PL300, we have DP-600, and we have DP-700. And the topic for today is DP-700. Now, DP-600 is a good exam that I can tell you right away. If you are very proficient or have experience, any level of experience with Power BI, and if Power BI one of your major tools in your professional occupancy, then DP-600, that's an exam for you. But there's an overlap between DP-600 and DP-700. What that means is that what you hear tonight about DP-700 is backward applicable to DP-600. So if you're not looking specifically to take an exam of DP-700, you can just use this same material today that we're presenting to prepare for DP-600 and get that certification as well. The second note is, if you pass DP-700, believe you me, you will be able to as easily pass DP-600, even though there is overlap, but DP-600 is a little bit simpler compared to DP-700 when it comes to the actual data engineering. So that's the starting notes, and then we go deeper. Now, DP-700, it's not the expert level exam in Microsoft classification. It's considered the intermediate role, but it's the top role in data platform certification. What that means is that there is currently no higher certification in data engineering. So if you are working in data engineering, this would be the hat that will bring you to the top of your cohort of colleagues or team members, whoever you work with, and you will stand out on a job market if it's one of your career goals as well. Because Fabric certification at this point is becoming one of the hiring prerequisites for many data engineering jobs. Now, certification is not the same as actual day-to-day job. And to pass certification, you need to be in the context of how Microsoft asks the questions and why. So that's what we will try and cover today. Specifically, DP-700 focuses on three skills: SQL or SQL. That's number one, and it will be number one for quite a long. It was number one and will continue to be number one. PySpark. That means essentially that you need to understand how to use PySpark engine with two capacities, Python and SQL as well, but the Spark version of the SQL, and the KQL, where K stands for Custo, which is the real-time intelligence instrumentation in Fabric. So KQL is an important querying language that is absolutely a big part in Fabric. So these three skills, they will be measured across the entire exam all the time. So don't skip when you prepare. Don't skip neither one of them. So you need to be equally well prepared in SQL, in PySpark, and in Custo query language. There are official guides, and you see each slide that comes with this short URLs that you can use on ak.ms that you can use to get direct links to the specific place. But just to be very short on that, it's Microsoft Learn. So if you just go to the Microsoft Learn and you enter there DP-700, you will get immediate, the very first result in the search for this studying guide. And the exam itself, it's structured in three parts. It's structured in implementing and managing analytical solutions, which takes about 1/3, ingesting and transforming data, another third, and monitoring and optimizing an analytics solution. Let me tell you this, from my personal experience, I have passed these exams many times. What that means is that I have passed DP-203, I have passed DP-700, I have passed DP-600, and I have renewed DP-700 at least once. Every single time. Monitoring and optimizing an analytical solution takes a little bit more work from me. So my personal, unless you're a genius in that specific area, my specific suggestion for you to focus on this area when you prepare for this exam. It's a little bit tricky. It gets tricky there. Now, our first topic for tonight. So what is Fabric? That's the overview, right? If you don't mind, I'm just curious, like if you can have a show of hands of how many people work with Fabric every day at your workplaces, just click that button to show your hand, and that's good enough. We can just quickly see. So far, one hand. That's what I see. All right. Well, I'm not gonna wait long enough, but what it means for me that this slide is not gonna be a waste, because if you're not working with Fabric every single day, but you're still interested in getting certified, that's what you need to start from. You need to start working with Fabric. Now, this is one of the most frequently asked questions: how do I get to work with Fabric? We're not going to answer it right away, but I defer that to the end of the presentation. So we discuss that as well. Now, Fabric is a unified data platform. What it means is that it can do on itself everything that you need to build an enterprise level of data analytics solution. It can do ETLing, it can do data engineering, it can do data warehousing, data science, real-time intelligence, and of course, reporting. Everything is included in Fabric uh, in a form of different workloads, which in Fabric, they present themselves as so-called items. Like when you need to create an ingestion pipeline, you just create a new item that has a name, data pipeline. If you need to store data in a warehouse, you just create a new item that is called data warehouse, and so forth and so on. So it's unified, and that's the most important. Now, what's below is, because it's data, then the very first question that comes to mind, how do we store it? And Fabric has, because it's unified, it has a single storage for all kinds of the workloads that Fabric can execute. And this is OneLake. Microsoft calls it OneDrive for data. I personally don't share that specific naming approach because I don't hold OneDrive to the same level of standard as, I don't know, in data engineering as a number one in the industry because it's more of a personal storage to my understanding. But OneLake, even though they call it OneDrive, it's not. It's Azure Data Lake. That's what that is. Behind the scene, OneLake, it's true Azure Data Lake or ADLS. Maybe you have heard, whoever works with Azure as well, maybe you have heard this abbreviation. So it's ADLS storage account. It's managed automatically for you in Fabric when you work with it, and it's virtually unlimited. What that means is that you will not see a message there is not enough storage for you because as soon as you need more, it will be automatically provisioned for you. This is the magic of a managed platform. Now, Fabric is one of a few platforms that's offered as SaaS. What that means, this abbreviation is software as a service. So what specifically that means for every one of you is that you don't need to worry about infrastructure. That's correct. So if you've ever worked with the previous generation of Microsoft products like Azure Data Factory or Synapse Analytics, then you know how much effort it takes to deploy these solutions on cloud. And then you need to manage, monitor, and take care of the infrastructure for everything, like not in Fabric. Fabric doesn't require that anymore. It takes care of everything. That's one of the selling points, meaning now selling in my scenario here means that I would buy Fabric just for that it doesn't require any infrastructure concerns. And now we are on our next topic, which is, if you remember, we have three different areas when we prepare for the exam. So that's one of them. How do we do data ingestion in Fabric? Now, one main principle in any data analytical platform, it doesn't matter which platform, which vendor we're talking about here. The main principle is that operational data doesn't leak into analytical storage. Analytical is fully isolated. So we have to bring data into the analytical storage so we do not affect our operational data in any way. We don't run reports against operational data. That's a law in the data analytics. And that's what Fabric is achieving by supplying a lot of different techniques for data ingestion. What data ingestion means? You need to bring your data into OneLake. That's what it means. Like you have all the enterprise data sources and you want them to become analytical data sources. So you need to bring this data to OneLake. There are two major forms of ingestion in Fabric. There is a direct ingestion that you need to run a workload for using a compute engine. And there's a zero ETL ingestion. That's what Microsoft calls it. It's a hidden way of ingesting data, so it doesn't require running explicitly designing and running a workload like a data pipeline. It needs to be configured to work. There are limitations when you can use it, when you cannot use it. So, but together, these two forms of ingestions, they bring each and every piece of data, well, to my knowledge known in the current data analytics industry into OneLake and Fabric. What goes into the zero ETL? Two types, mirroring and shortcuts. Simple way to remember, mirroring is for databases, shortcuts is for files. Done. So if you remember that, you don't need to know anymore at this point. You just remember that if you need, if you can, if you need to ingest data from a database and it has a mirroring feature in Fabric, then you can use it to have this data in your OneLake. If there is a data in form of files like CSV, Parquet, XML, JSON, anything like this that sits on any cloud file storage, then you can bring it into OneLake using shortcuts for supported platform. Then explicit or direct ingestion, it requires to run one of those workloads. You need to either run a data factory to orchestrate different steps. You can use different compute engines that are available in Fabric. And because this is SaaS, all compute engines are serverless. What that means, again, no infrastructure. Once you run them, the data will appear on OneLake. So this is the goal of the ingestion. Now, as I mentioned before, OneLake is a unified storage, so it stores everything. It stores tables and it stores files. If you have different types of storages in Fabric, like lake houses, warehouses, event houses, databases, or just a collection of flat files of different nature, that is on in the same single unified format. Everything that OneLake storage is automatically converted in Delta Parquet format. You don't need to know these details for the exam, but it's good to understand because there are some questions in the exam that will try to trick you, and they will ask you, hey, what do you need to choose? For example, a warehouse or a lake house for your data analytical solution. And they will bring into the context different formats of this and that and something else. So you should not be tricked. Everything on OneLake is unified. The storage name or structure does not matter for the storage type. There is a sample here for Azure Databricks. I don't know why on this slide there is a Databricks, because Databricks is just one additional platform that Fabric can ingest data from. So cannot really tell you why, but maybe because Microsoft is in a really serious partnership with Databricks, and together these two platforms give you a lot of power when it comes to building the enterprise analytical solutions. Specifically, what happens here is many organizations, they may consider themselves a Databricks shop or a Microsoft platform shop. Well, with Fabric, they don't need anymore because this is the past. Now, the current, and the future is that they work together because data from Databricks is available inside Fabric. How do we build complex solutions? Well, we use baby steps, obviously. Now, baby steps in our specific example mean only one thing, that we need to orchestrate them. So we may have multitude of different data sources, and we may have specific logics and algorithms that we need to utilize to bring data from different data sources like REST APIs, SQL or NoSQL databases, flat files, real-time data sources. You name it, it's probably in this list. And we need an orchestration for that, because we want a lot of parallelism in our platform, or we will be waiting forever, which we don't want to. Now, data pipeline is your answer to that. That's an orchestrator in number one in Microsoft Fabric. There are more choices, but uh, the data pipeline is the number one choice for the majority of the workloads. It can run practically everything that you have in Fabric. It can run direct queries to databases, to warehouses, to lakehouses. It can run highly optimized copy jobs. It can run notebooks. It can run data flows. It can run KQL scripts the same way as you would do this in each respected system. So orchestrator is our data pipeline. It's the heart of your logic. And now we will jump directly into our three different sections for the exam. Now, you remember 30 to 35% ingest and transform data in Fabric. That's 30 to 35%, one third. Let's put it this way. So what do we do here? We do three things. We process data loading in batches into Fabric from different data sources, and we store them in different storages. Now, we have three major storages in Fabric for batch data processing. We're not talking about yet real-time intelligence. So Lakehouse, Warehouse, SQL database. Let's see what happens where. Now, if we want to, so you need to, there's a guide on Microsoft Learn when you will be working on your preparation. You will find one specific document, how to make your choice, what to use for what. Now, most likely, most of the organizations, they will have a hybrid architecture of data storages. So what we need to understand is we have two major parts in our strategies. We have SQL and we have Spark. So these two are two major parts. There's one more. It's called data flows. Now, data flows is based, for those who is familiar with Power BI well enough. Data flows, it's the ingestion engine based on the analysis services that used to be a standalone product. Now it's a separate compute engine. It's part of Fabric now. It can be used. And in many tricky questions during the exam, you will be given a choice to pick between the data pipelines or data flows. And you will need to understand that the choice between them, it's not technology, it's not how you execute things behind the scene. The choice between them, the correct choice between them, is the effort that it requires for you to build that solution and for it to run. So in some situations when you need to load a lot of data, you will use the data pipelines because it has a copy activity that is highly optimized. It can load very quickly a huge amount of data from one source to another destination. But data flows is more for complex load scenarios when you have multiple data sources that you want to transform on the way and then do a lot of multiple steps. And another specific area here is that data flows allows you to use Visual Designer. Data pipelines as well, but it's not as sophisticated in terms of the visual configuration as the data flows. So when it comes to SQL, we need to remember that absolutely everything in Fabric has a SQL endpoint. So you can query that with a SQL script that you can run in the pipeline. And another thing is Spark, right? So Spark is a huge compute engine system that Fabric instantiates for you on demand when you need to run a notebook. So that's what happens here. Now, we have two different major orchestration ways in Fabric for running Spark jobs. We can place a notebook as an activity step inside the data pipeline, and then we can run the pipeline that will execute the notebook. Or we can create a Spark job definition which does not require data pipeline, and it can execute on itself and also have a scheduling mechanism. So that's about batch data ingestion tools. We have that table here as a guide, and a few things that I already mentioned. Data pipeline copy activity, that's one of the simplest and most powerful choices, the very first choices that you would think of when you need to ingest a big amount of data in one go with relatively simple uh, requirements, because you can not customize the pipeline copy activity too much. There is a little bit of customization, but not too much. Now, in this line where we have the code written, you can easily distinguish between no code, low code, which immediately brings up the either the data pipeline or the data flow. And then there's the code first option, which requires you to write code either in SQL or in Python using Notebook, and then it will be executed by Spark. So Spark shines extremely brightly when it comes to processing millions, very large amount of data, like millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions rows, then Spark is your choice. So this is the link I was talking about, right? akm.ms slash fabric decision guide. You will see that link during your preparation to this exam. Now, what happens is Microsoft specifically makes suggestions in the exam preparation guide how you need to answer the question of what to choose when you do the step for transformation and orchestration. And that doesn't necessarily align with your personal experience. And you need to be very careful here, because this is exactly where the trick is. So if you try to answer that question with just your personal experience, you will fail in about 50% of attempts. Why? Because you need to consider a scenario and you need to consider a Microsoft suggestion. So when the question asks you, gives you a scenario that you need to do the data preparation for the loading, they expect you to pick the data flows. When you need to have automation and schedule, they expect you to pick the pipelines. When they tell you, hey, your data engineering team prefers to write code, then you have no any other choice. You just immediately pick the notebooks. And when it finally comes to real-time intelligence, then there's no any other choice but event streams and KQL. So you need to be in the scope of the question. You cannot answer just because you know it can be done this way. You have to read the specific situation and you need to answer it as exactly as you're being asked. Now, real-time intelligence is sort of a standalone in Microsoft Fabric, but not really. The example is why it may look as a standalone for multiple reasons. Number one, in the Fabric user interface, in the left side menu, we have the real-time hub as a separate thing. There is no any other button similar to this for, say, like houses or warehouses. They just don't exist there. You work with those in your workspaces, but for the real time, you have a separate hub that if you click on it, you will see an overview of what's going on where. Cannot tell you why exactly, why the team behind the Fabric decided that it should have its own button in the menu. But what's important is that this is an ecosystem that, technically speaking, can work without anything else in Fabric. What it means is that it can connect by itself without any pipelines, without any other workloads to the data source. It has its own storage. That is the KQL database. All the storage is aggregated inside the event house. It has the organizational structure. You can have many KQL databases. It's like your server. It's your database, KQL database server. It's your event house. And it has its own scheduling and its own reporting. Scheduling is the activator, and reporting is the real-time dashboard. Of course, everything, all data that you get, that you create, is stored on OneLake. This entire ecosystem of real-time intelligence, it lives on OneLake exactly the same way as any other ecosystem in Fabric. Now, I can tell you right away that it doesn't have to be standalone because real-time intelligence integrates with every other workflow in Fabric. It has the SQL endpoint that you can use SQL to query the KQL database, not the KQL language itself. I still think that you need to choose the KQL because behind the scene, if you use SQL, it will be translated to KQL. Also, you connect Power BI to your KQL database, but Power BI is not optimized for real time. Even though you run it in the direct lake or query mode, and you can run these queries relatively fast enough, but you cannot achieve the second level refreshes, the one that real-time dashboard gives you. So that's why you want to be well familiar with the real-time intelligence, and you need to understand how different tools are being connected to each other. They can be used, but the specific scenarios when they should be used. For example, you can work with the event house from both data pipeline and the notebook. Both of them, they provide you a direct connection to the KQL database. You can read and write in either one using either tool, but it's not necessarily the best way in particular scenarios. And Activator, that's a scheduler that is not exclusive to the real-time intelligence. It works the same way as well for any other workload. For example, a standard scenario, when you get the new data in your lakehouse, you can configure Activator to execute a task on the data arrival. So it doesn't have to be the real-time intelligence, but it's part of the real-time intelligence ecosystem. The next portion, right? The next 35%, monitor and optimize Fabric solutions. This is one that, as I mentioned to you, just from my personal experience, it always brings a little bit of grief when I take one of these exams. And believe me that taking this exam one time, it's only the beginning of the journey. It's not the end of it. It's the beginning. Why? The exam certification only is valid for 1 year. So if you want to keep it, next year you will need to refresh it to update your certification status. Now, I'll open you a little bit of a secret that for now, the update for the next year is absolutely free. So you're not in it for money. Absolutely. It's all free. And second secret that it's much easier to do this update exam than the original one. So if you pass through the original exam, then after that you will be just breezing through other updates very smoothly. So don't be afraid. That only should give you more motivation to go for the first original exam. Now, what are we monitoring in Fabric? We're monitoring everything. Why? Because if it fails, there is no data. Because you want data for your analytic that needs to be updated and refreshed on a continuous basis, very robustly. We don't want these updates to skip. We don't want these updates to fail. Or we're going to get our business consumers very unhappy because they cannot see what they're looking for, right? So we're monitoring data pipelines, we're monitoring data flows, we're monitoring other semantic model refreshes. Technically speaking, well, usually you don't do this as a separate step, but you can, absolutely. Spark jobs, notebooks, uh, not sure how to monitor lake houses or event streams, but there are statistics there that you can monitor, of course. And how we do this? Well, we do it this way. So this is what exam will look into, like that you understand that sequence, that you need to understand what exactly you monitor. Then you need to understand what kind of data you will be looking at when you monitor your workloads. Then you need to understand how to approach issue resolution. And obviously, one of the monitoring goals is to look for the metrics that allow you to optimize the performance. So that's what's going to happen. That's what you will be asked about during the exam. And Fabric comes with what's called a monitoring hub. It shows each and every workload that you can run individually or as part of a schedule. They all appear in the same list, but there is a filter. So you can filter that and you can find what you're looking for specifically. And you will be able to find things that actually failed. Like when it succeeds, it doesn't mean that you don't need to monitor it. There's one column that is not added to the column options by default. It's called duration, right? And you know what that means. It means how long the work was going on, right? And one of the metrics is that if you design your pipeline properly, then you expect that the duration of the execution is more or less in the same ballpark. Now, if it suddenly jumps higher or lower significantly, then you need to pay attention to that. Current monitor does not include the automatic notification option. So you will need to be creative when it comes to getting notifications about what failed or not failed or what you want to know. But we can talk about it, but that will not be part of the exam. I can tell you right away. So notifications, there's only one place in the exam where you will be asked about notifications is uh, in the activator scope. Like activator is the primary mechanism right now that can send notification along with the notification activity, the new one in data pipeline. And another thing that is unique in Fabric, it's called the Fabric capacity. This is the money. So essentially, if you think about fabric capacity as your virtual machine, well, one or many, it depends on how many you can have, then that's where you spend your money. And this is why you need to monitor fabric capacity. There is a special section on when you prepare how to monitor fabric capacity. You need not skip it. You have to know that. The standard tool that comes with Microsoft Fabric, it's called Capacity Metrics application. It's a free Power BI application that is the very first step that one should install in their Fabric environment after they decide that they want to start using Fabric capacity and they want to know what they spend, how much they spend, what takes their money, and things like that. So this is the tool that you want to have. And this is just a sample of screen of that report. It's a report. It connects to the Fabric REST API behind the scene, and it collects the data from all your capacities. Now, everything is Fabric is logged, literally. Like if something is not logged, it does not exist. UI is not always fully comprehensive or complete, unfortunately, but there are other ways, as I said, like this capacity metrics application, as well as in some cases, more complicated cases, you will need to use the Fabric REST API directly. This will not be the questions in the exam. This is just for your information. And we have covered the overview of Fabric features that you need to learn when you prepare to take the exam. And at this point, it's just time for us to do Q&As. So if you have questions in the chat, let me see if I can open the chat. Right. Thanks, Michael, for posting the links. Yes, in the chat. Right. So, guys, we have time. There are 24 people on the call, and you have me and you have Michael. We're both experienced exam takers. We are well familiar here. So please take this opportunity for yourself and start asking questions. If you don't want to type, that's okay. You can raise your hand and take a mic and ask a question with your voice. That's totally with your voice, totally fine. Meanwhile, resources. Like there are a few things that are very helpful when you prepare for this exam. So you start from Microsoft Learn, you search for DP-700, you immediately find the exam preparation guide. What you need to do is you need to take it seriously and you need to complete all the modules in this preparation guide, including practical exercises. So this is where the question comes in. How do you practice in Fabric? Well, you have to have a Fabric account. Can you get a personal Fabric account? No. You have to be part of the organization that has Fabric enabled. If Fabric is not part of your working environment, it will be hard, but you can find a few workarounds here that will allow you to get to know Fabric better, because you absolutely must practice. If you don't practice, you will not be able to take this exam, to pass that exam. You have to practice. It used to be a little bit easier to get a trial. So what Microsoft gives now is, it's called a trial capacity. If you're part of the organization that uses Fabric, you can request a trial Fabric capacity that will not affect any billing in this organization environment at all. It will incur no charges. It will be a good size capacity. It will be F64 capacity. It will be totally enough for you to get all practice, to complete all the exercises that you just want to do and more. And you can do them multiple times. If you cannot have that, so uh, another way is you can request an Azure trial. So when you request an Azure trial, you create a trial tenant on Azure, which is a Microsoft organization. And if you become a part of that organization, even though you're just a single user in that organization, you can request Fabric trial capacity. There may be a waiting period. So if you don't have, like, I cannot tell you exactly because it keeps changing how long. It could be before you can request a trial capacity after you created an Azure trial. So if you don't have access to Fabric at your working environment, just do this Azure trial as soon as possible and start waiting and looking for the trial capacity button to pop up on your login screen. The third way is a little bit trickier, but it also works for your practice. What you can do is when you go to the Microsoft Learn, I probably can open it up in the browser and just show you how it looks. Learn. Should have opened it before. My bad. Apology for that. But better later than never. Okay. So this is Microsoft Learn, and this is the banner about the data days, and we are tonight a part of this program. So how to request a voucher? Mike just posted the link, but you need to register in that program. Otherwise, you won't be able to request. So if you haven't, please go on any Microsoft source on Microsoft Fabric Community Portal or here, click this register. I can show you the community, Microsoft Fabric Community, exactly the same banner. You can do it right here, right? This is where you register to be part of this community. That will allow you to get a free exam voucher. That is important for you to know. Now, if I just type here DP-700 and all Microsoft Fabric documentation, what is it? Training. Ah, oh, word. So this is the certification itself. And if we go here, then we have 2 points. Prepare for the exam. This is your course, right? And that's what I was talking about. Complete each and every module. Practice for the exam. This is a very important practice exercise that it consists of 75 plus minus questions. It's totally free. That you want to be able to pass them all. You want to get to 95% on this practice assessment before you go for your exam. There is additional resource that I highly recommend. I used it myself. It's called 30 Ace. In this more specific example, it was my link was DP-600, but uh, here we just select DP-700, and you have both free and paid. Paid is very affordable. It's extremely affordable. It's this much. If well, I don't suggest you take it early, but it's less than $20. That's US, by the way. monthly. So if you're able to take your preparation on high speed, you can finish it in a month. So you may not need more than that. Other platforms like Measure Up, for example, they don't have that. They don't support DP-700 exam. So this is an extremely well-rounded platform that is very affordable and very useful. Great questions. So what I wanted to show you as an additional way of practicing with Fabric is on Microsoft Learn, apart from the certifications, we also have what's called skills. So if I just pick here, it's called applied skills, right? And I choose Microsoft Fabric as a product, you will see that we have, I'm not sure where other skills are, but even it doesn't really matter that at this point they only have real-time intelligence. They used to have also Lakehouse, and they used to have also the warehouse applied skills, but they keep changing them, right? What that is if you click take assessment, you will get a virtual environment of Fabric for 2 hours. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to pass this assessment. Feel free to fail it. If you're not focusing, they will give you a free reign. Literally, it's just a Fabric environment. You log in into Fabric. You can do whatever you want there. You can obviously pass this assessment as following the guides in this assessment, but other than that, you can just practice with Fabric. So if you have absolutely no any other ways of accessing Fabric, try this one, right? It works
Uh,
well. It's virtual, but
Sorry to
it's okay.
come in. Please, can you, someone has asked a question, and this is the answer. I
Yes.
was asking about the labs. Can you paste this link in the chat so that way
Which
he
one?
sees this one where he's able to
This one.
take assessment, which is the labs, right? Is this the
Yep.
labs you're talking about, right?
Well, this is
Or
a virtual Fabric environment. Technically, they give you a list of tasks that you need to complete, and they're specifically targeting the real-time intelligence. So you can absolutely use this when you're preparing for DP-700 and you're taking the real-time intelligence module. Absolutely. But after you did this for real-time intelligence, you can continue to use it for everything else. So yes, this is very useful resource.
okay, please help share in the chat.
Right in the chat. Okay, goes right here. Okay. Uh, do we see any questions here?
There are, I think, I'll start from the first set. So Michael was asking, are there opportunities for MS discounted vouchers? We have answered. I also pasted the link for him to put in for a voucher.
Yes. So
So
the vouchers are free once you register for the data days program, and there is a form that you will need to complete. Then you like there is no 100% guarantee that you get a voucher, but it's very close to 95% guarantee that you get a voucher. I personally participated in multiple programs before, and I always got my vouchers when it was promised. So that's well, for me, it's a very high chance that you get a voucher. In Canadian dollars, this exam costs about 150 Canadian dollars. So this is real money. Like you can schedule your exam using that voucher, and when you're ready, and then you go and take that exam. Any data project recommendation for hands-on experience? Well, my personal recommendation is to take this guide and do all the exercises in this course, and you will see that each module, it takes a number of hours. They measured it. Like if I open any one of them, you will see that in this program, you have the overview. Oh, yeah, let's take this one, right? So it has multiple areas, and then you have the exercise. So this exercise, if you launch it here, right, it's not the virtual environment. It only tells you what to do. It's a guideline, and it tells you, okay, so when you're in Fabric, you want to do this and this and this and these steps. So it guides you through these exercises. So if you have limited or less than limited Fabric hands-on experience, you absolutely want to go through these exercises, because this is the fastest way from the beginning to the end. This is the straight line. So you will learn exactly how it's done in Fabric. This is the best practice. And therefore, I absolutely suggest that you take all the exercises in each and every module here. Uh, you see, this is 1 hour exercise. If you're fast clicker, if you're fast learner, if you have data engineer experience, and for example, you don't have immediate access to Fabric, but you go to that lab link for the applied skills, you can get a couple of exercises done during the in 2 hours period. Right. Uh, Anything else? Right, vouchers were answered.
There is also a question after that that was from. Okay, so let me just go sequentially. So Jefferson asked that, I'm not sure you said it, but I don't think I've heard you mention it lab. So when you had that slide where you showed the resources and labs was number
Right.
two. So I
So
think, yeah.
yeah, this is the answer is applied skill. So you search for the applied skill. That's where you get the labs.
Okay. Then after that, Minjao asked any data project recommendation for hands-on experience.
Yeah. Well, not GitHub. No, I most of the GitHub projects that I've seen, they are on a more complicated level, and they cover less generic but more narrow topics. So as I said, my suggested exercises are all here in the this course. In each module, we have a number of exercises. Apache Spark, we have exercise again, so we can look at it. It all allows you to learn all the basics necessary for this exam. I can tell you on this. So these files, for example, the CSV files that we see here on the screen, as an example of this exercise, they are available on GitHub, the files themselves. I keep using them for just tasting of different features. These exercises are so good. They're structured so well that you don't need an additional projects to hone your skills. Uh, I guess if we don't have any more questions, then it's all that we wanted to cover. If anyone wants to discuss something that we didn't cover, and you want to stay a little bit longer, I don't mind. Just raise your hand, take a mic, and we can discuss something else, or type here in the chat. Uh, we can, if no offers, we can then just end this call. Uh, I very much appreciate everyone being here tonight with us. That's a lot of commitment from all you. So you should be proud of yourself. Uh, Listening about future challenged exams that you need to spend time on Monday late evening. That's a lot of commitment. I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you all. I see maybe, yeah, okay. I noticed Minja was typing something. He said, thanks a lot. I'm going to stop the recording now. So since this session has officially ended, and if any